even if it's not, even if you don't believe it's by God, the general rules tend to be love thy neighbor, give to charity, pray, disconnect from this world. The rules tend to be good for your soul. So I just think that you're going to follow rules anyway. Why not choose rules that are actually healthy? And I know people think, oh, but there's unhealthy rules in it. But look where society's taken us. We're now going down the route where people think that in order to be a good person, you have to accept people's genders, whatever they want to define it as, accept people that might want to, they're now changing the rules to something about like children being able to give consent and like almost pushing pedophilia because we follow the norms.
Do you think though that's something that's actively being driven now, that they're trying to sexualize society? Because I know that before this interview, I was on Twitter just reading a tweet, and then this Sam Smith thing. I don't know if you saw Sam Smith the other night. Yeah, I think that's obviously on a personal level. I think it's disgraceful, the kind of stuff that's going on with Sam Smith and the way that he's moving in front of like concerts full of children. And is that something you think that's, from a psychological level, when you look at someone like Sam Smith and the way that he's moving right now, what do you see? Do you
I see depression.
Right, okay.
I see depression, and that's not just from his sexualized behavior, it's from his body. The first sign of depression is how much you give up on what you put into your body. Wow. Then you start losing respect for yourself. This is what happens when you I'd say this to my clients that are overweight. I say, I would love to help you, but I promise you, until you start working out, it's limited what I can do for you. Because this is what happens.
That's powerful, that is.
Yeah, it's limited. And this is why I'm not fat shaming in any way. But this is what happens when we gain weight. Every morsel we're putting into our mouth, we're losing respect for ourselves. When you're in shape and you have a cheat meal, you'd feel like you deserve it. But when you're out of shape and you do it, you feel guilty afterwards. You're slowly losing respect for yourself. And then when we lose respect for ourselves, our self-esteem drops. And then when our self-esteem drops, we then we look for extravagant ways to show we're confident. So what will happen is when you've got low self-esteem, you want to be famous. Or when you've got low self-esteem, you might want to do threesomes. You look for extravagant ways to feel good again. Now, when I saw I didn't even pay attention to his costume. His weight was the first thing I noticed. All right, okay, there's a depression. Let's have a look at the symptoms of you're distracting people from the depression by doing all this nonsense. But really, you're sad.
So all the extravagant behavior that people assume in their reality in society now is all a mask for the depression that they're hiding by their body weight, just alone.
Body weight, it doesn't mean if you've got great body, your self-esteem is high. I'm not saying that. But the quickest way to assess someone's self-esteem is to look at their body. Because it tells me what you're doing to it on a daily basis.
What about these guys that when I lived in Australia, I'd go into gyms like World Gym, which is like one of these bodybuilding gyms. I'd go in there, I'd see these lads that were carved out like Greek Adonises, like Michelangelo's been there with a chisel. And I'd look at him, and when I looked into a conversation and looked into their eyes, like I could see a broken man. But
even those men will be injecting something. They'll be doing something to their body that's not good for it. And here's the thing. Your body is basically your home. It's where we place our psychology. It's a home to put your brain. Now, how you treat that home, like if you're renting a place, if you treat it like shit, you obviously don't respect the place. And same thing, if you treat your body like shit, you don't respect it. So there's something going on in that. So just like if I trashed a hotel room, if I trash my body either through alcohol, through steroids, through overeating, through having sex with the wrong people, I don't respect it. Something's going on in the psychology.
Yeah. So what are some of the red flags then that both men and women can look out for in the opposite sex that can show them this person isn't whole and potentially stop a bad relationship in the first place? I presume if you walk in, and from what you've just said, and you walk in and their place is a mess, it shows you that their headspace is a mess, right? Yeah. And I presume that if their body's in a mess, then presumptively your mind's in a mess too. What other things should people look out for?
I think their decision making in general, and this involves everything. What kind of decisions they make with their money, with their time, with who they have sex with everything they do. You look at their decision making. Now, if their decision making is responsible, it's sensible, it wants the best for them, and it helps them achieve their potential, super high self-esteem. But if their decision making is so chaotic, or it doesn't add up. Like, one minute they're so good at business, but then they choose the most toxic partner in the world, or they're so good in their relationship, but then they gamble on the side. It's like there's something in your decision making that tells me about your traumas. So let's lean into that and have a look at your own decision making in your life and think, okay, I'm so disciplined when it comes to food. I'm so good when it comes to money. But when it comes to relationships, I just seem to make the worst decisions. Why is that? Or it might be the opposite. It's like, I'm so good at relationships. I'm so good at all of these things. But when it comes to business, I don't know. I make stupid decisions. Well, your decisions tell me where your trauma is.
When you want to ascertain more in depth on that, when you want to get really ingrained in, like, okay, now I've accepted that I've got this trauma, right? So I've accepted I've got this trauma. I know there's a trauma there. How can I use psychology on myself to understand myself more and get in there without having to go see anyone? Or is that not possible?
You don't have to go see anyone. It doesn't necessarily have to happen. You can just, educate yourself online and stuff. But here's the problem. What the problem is, when people have traumas, or when their life is a bit of a catastrophe, the first thing they do is try and diagnose their partner. They will look on Google and say, signs my ex was a narcissist. And I get this all the time. I'll get on the phone call with a client. I just wanted to speak to you because my ex is a sociopathic narcissist. Pointless session.
Wow.
Pointless session.
I've literally just had flashbacks. I was dating this girl, and in the early days of this podcast, I was dating this girl, and I'd be having this brilliant day, and then she'd ring me up, and it just felt like she was just trying to start a fucking war with me, starting an argument to cause this drama in my life. And I'm like, it's just like out of nowhere. Like 2 minutes ago, great. Like, now there's this big world war starting.
She was a bit broken.
Yeah, she had. I think there was trauma in relation to her father growing up.
So anytime there was separation, she would get anxious or start a fight.
Yeah, yeah, and very beautiful, very good looking. Her mum and dad were still together, but because she was traumatized by her dad had hit her mum. Okay. Right. So there's trauma there, and she used to start the most randomest arguments for me.
What that is like, when people are traumatized, what they do is they fight with their partner to test how much they will fight for them back. So really, when women are fighting like that, they don't actually want to fight. They want to test your level of love and attachment to them. So what may have been happening is, you might have been busy in your podcast. You might have been sat at home. Maybe she saw that you liked a picture of a girl. Maybe she saw something that triggered her. She's like, let me start a fight. And I'll start a fight, threaten to leave him. And if he begs me, then I feel good again. I can relax. But if he doesn't beg me, then I know he's a prick. It's a test.
I knew it. And
there's no way to win this test, by the way. As a man, there's no way to win.
I knew it was a test.
Yeah.
I knew it was a test. I didn't understand the psychological reasoning behind the test.
The psychological reason would be, she's been triggered into thinking that at some point you're going to abandon her. So she wants to abandon you before you can get there first and test your response.
On a random Wednesday, that's going
on a random Monday morning. I would do it before 7 a.m. sometimes.
Do you find the cycle of like the moon and stuff like that affects women on a psychological level as well?
I can't comment on things I don't know enough about. So unfortunately, I don't know anything about astrology.
Because I was speaking to my friend who's a nurse who works in a hospital, and she said that there's some crazy stuff that happens around these full moons.
I'm sure it does. You know, religious reasons, we don't actually follow astrology too much. So I've never had my hand read. I don't know too much as that. I know I'm a Taurus. I'm very much a Taurus. I know that, but I don't know too much about it. So I can't.
No, I respect that. I respect that. I respect that. So, what are some of the key learnings that you've learned in the last 12 months that you previously, even in your psychological career, you hadn't even discovered them?
One thing I have found is how many women cheat on men, and how many men accept the unacceptable when it comes to women. And I was explaining this to my friends, I have a bunch of really beautiful, wonderful friends, male, female, everything. And I think I never realized that we are a certain type of a subcategory. I thought everybody was like us. I thought everybody doesn't tolerate nonsense, and I thought everybody's like that, but I didn't realize that there's levels to it. And there's people out there, there's men out there that accept the unacceptable when it comes to women. And I always knew women do that. I always knew that, okay, women have a bad boy phase, or women have guys that may leave them on red. I was aware of that because you always hear about it on social media. Men ain't shit, or men are trash. I always knew that men are naughty. And the the type of men I know, okay, I'm sure you're up to nonsense. I never knew how bad it is for men when it comes to dating. It's impossible for them to find a loyal girl these days, but they accept the unacceptable. The men I'm around don't accept the unacceptable. So I know, and I always knew, if I did a certain behavior, if I did something like this, the type of man I want would never accept it. But there are men out there that will allow a woman to cheat again and again, be promiscuous, go out, disrespect him, and he'll still beg her for attention. I didn't know that existed until I started doing social media stuff.
So where are you seeing this more prevalent? Is it more of a
younger generation?
Yeah, between what ages?
I would say between 18 to 30.
So anyone 18 to 30 is practically now got no hope of finding a woman. Then in essence,
yeah,
when you break.
No, I'm joking. No, it's not that they have no hope of finding a woman. They have no boundaries. What's happened is they've grown up on porn. This is I know I bring everything down to porn, and you can really tell I'm an advocate against pornography.
For religious reasons, I can't talk about porn.
Do you know what it is? I think if I had one goal in life with this whole social media thing, it would be to remove the obsession with pornography because of what it does to children. Yeah, you know, everything is about children. So what happens is the 18 to 30-year-old man grew up on pornography, whereas a guy a bit older, maybe in his 30s, what happened is, of course he watched porn. I'm not naive, but there was an element of like, shit, dad's coming home, can't watch porn right now, or mom's going to find my magazines, or oh my god, how do I get that top shelf magazine? It's so embarrassing, the guy knows my dad, I can't buy it. You know, there was so much like when it comes to watching porn, whereas now, headphones in, bedtime, pornography, children, 11 years old, 12 years old, children. So what happens is their brain is being sculpted into thinking that women are just for sexual purposes and they are hypersexual and this is normal. So when they meet a woman who is engaging in so much promiscuous behavior, either online, offline, in person, whatever, they don't get the same triggers. They don't think, whoa, she's probably not going to be loyal. They think this is how women come. So they accept the unacceptable when it comes to relationships.
So much in that you can, like, you know.
I'm good, aren't I?
Honestly, like you've literally broke it down in such a way that it's so true, isn't it? When you look at society and how society's moved over the last few years, even like, you know, the dominance of like the mobile phone and everything like that. Everyone's stuck to it. Everyone's involved in it. Even on social media now, like we're all somewhat addicted to dopamine hits. So one thing I wanted to discuss with you today is like, I know a lot of influencers, people that are doing things, and they're trapped into a certain type of posting a certain type of content because I believe they're addicted to the likes that type of content gets. Yeah. But they actually really they've evolved as a person. They want to move beyond that content, but they kind of trapped in this cycle.
How do you break it?
Yeah, how do you break that?
Here's the thing. People attach, it's not your content, it's your authenticity that people actually attach to. Because what happens is, of course, my content is not particularly seductive or anything like that. It's nothing like that. But what happened is there's a space for it. There's a space for whoever you are. There's a market for it. People attach to authenticity. That's it. So that's why there's all this cancel culture. When they find out that somebody who had this squeaky clean image, they find out something scandalous, they want to cancel them. Why? Because we've been sold a lie. So here's what it is. People will attach to authenticity. If you just be yourself in whatever regard it is, and you put that out for the world, what will happen is it might be less likes, but it's more sincere. I don't have as many followers as the average Insta model. I'll never have as many followers as the average sports model. I'll never have as many followers as her, or as many reach, or whatever it is. And I'll definitely never have as many brand deals or anything like that. But the people who do follow me treat me like I'm a sister to them. I go out in Dubai, and somebody will come to me and be like, oh my gosh, your video, this and the other. And they treat me like I'm their sister. They're like, you're like a sister to me. And I've never met this person, because they're attaching to the authenticity. So it's better to have fewer, but more sincere acceptance.
Not many women would go out at the level you are and just openly say that women nowadays cheat a phenomenal amount.
Non-stop.
Do you know what I mean? Like
And here's the other thing. They're in denial about it. I will speak to cheating women. They have zero remorse about what because a lot of my clients are women who are cheating on their husband.